Welcome back to the LFCMD. This is your post-match reaction after Liverpool thrash Bayer Leverkusen 4-0. Now in this game I predicted we're going to have 2-0, but Arne Slot had other plans. Now this was a true tactical battle for Arne Slot, and even though we win at 4-0, in the beginning there were a lot of problems that Arne Slot needed to solve, and some that he preemptively solved even before the game began. So firstly, let's look at some of the tactical surprises that came from Xavi and Bayer Leverkusen. None of us expected Victor Boniface to be placed out wide to try and take advantage of Trent's weaknesses in defense, but I think this backfired against Leverkusen, not only because you have Konate there as literally Trent's bodyguard, bodying anyone who's trying to bully Trent down on the right, but also it took away from Grimaldo's game down on that left for Leverkusen. So it wasn't very clear which space was occupied by Boniface, which space is occupied by Grimaldo, because with Grimaldo you get that tricky winger. Even though he's a fullback, you get that tricky wing-back play that can often take on his man and has a bit of pace more than Victor Boniface. With Victor Boniface, when he tried to dribble even against Trent without Konate, he just couldn't get past his man most of the time. He wasn't putting in any crosses, he wasn't cutting any balls back, so it nullified him, but also nullified Grimaldo, who's naturally supposed to be in that space creating for the team. But the purpose of this was to create space also for Florian Wirtz in the middle of the attack, but he was perfectly nullified by our midfield and our defense. I thought McAllister took great care of Florian Wirtz, and we didn't see too much from Florian Wirtz. The second kind of tactical play that Leverkusen did was a bit more expected, especially given their back three slash back five, because they defended very compactly, and in the first half Liverpool was trying to take shots, especially from the edge of the box and outside of the area, but everything was just getting blocked. There was literally no space for any shots, and there was no space to go through the defense. So that was a bit challenging in the beginning for Liverpool, and as a result Leverkusen in the first half ended up looking a bit more cohesive with their passing. They looked a bit more cohesive with their interplay between their defense, midfield and attack, even though we did a very good job of making sure they don't get too many chances. I think the only chance of significance, the only scary chance that they got was the one that Frimpong scored, but then it was a handball when he controlled the ball, and most of you might, especially if you're a Leverkusen fan, you might think it's a bit harsh, but the rules state that even if it's an accidental handball, if the same player who handles the ball ends up being the one who scores, then it's going to be ruled out as handball. Maybe had he created an assist instead of scoring, it would have not been ruled out for handball, but because the same player who handles is the same player who scores, that's given as handball. And I think that moment changed or could have potentially changed the game for the better for Leverkusen, but luckily for Liverpool we got away with that one because Tsimikas seemed to have been on toast on that one. But the tactical win definitely goes to Arne Slot and the plan that he had, especially before the game, because when we saw the team news, everybody was surprised to see that both Gakpo and Diaz are playing in the attack, and we wondered, out of the three between Gakpo, Diaz and Salah, who's going to be the center forward? Many of us would have chosen Salah for his experience, and maybe you trust him as a more senior player to be a bit more versatile and play out of position. Gakpo has done that position before. We could have trusted him to maybe go in, fill in a role and play there as he has done under Jurgen Klopp, maybe to not as good effect as we expected him. But no, Arne Slot expected Luis Diaz to play as the center forward, and this, as he said post-match, was because he knew that the Leverkusen defenders prefer a physical battle, like they're up for a fight. They want to bully somebody, they want somebody who wants to fight with them. But instead he didn't give them that satisfaction with Darwin Núñez. I think with Darwin Núñez in there, it would have been a wrestling match and maybe not went as much as it did for Liverpool. But with Luis Diaz in there, he was ghosting into different spaces, ghosting into pockets, and it was very difficult for the Leverkusen defenders to really figure out who was responsible for him. Even when they did, he was just too tricky to get away from them. And for the first goal, it is great bit of play from Curtis Jones, and he picks a brilliant pass to put Diaz in, and once Diaz is in, he's simply magic. He goes for the chip on the goalkeeper, and it's a perfect goal, and he shows why Arne Slot put him in that position. He rewards it with a goal. I think the other piece of genius that we saw is not necessarily from Arne Slot, but from Salah with the 2 assists that he gets for the next 2 goals. I think Salah realized that because of the compactness of the defense of Leverkusen, there's really not much space to do what he did against Brighton, what he usually does, which is cut back in field, whip a ball in and score in the top corner with a killer. But there wasn't that much space given that the Leverkusen defenders were blocking everything that was coming in. But Salah realized that there might be space in behind, so he went for the Trivela crosses in behind, and we get a brilliant header from Cody Gakpo. In the first one, checked for offside, never offside in the beginning. It was a great run from Cody Gakpo, and for the second one, he whips in another cross, and we see Luis Diaz take it down on his chest. I think the Leverkusen defenders could have done better to not give him that amount of space, but he brings it down and shoots, scores. He has 2 goals. And for the third goal, we see a bit of directness from Darwin Núñez, and in honest fact, Darwin Núñez was trying to get a goal for himself, but it falls luckily to Luis Diaz on the rebound, and he puts a no-look shot in, and we score in that way. And I think we also saw in that bit of play how much of a baller Darwin Núñez is. And I know we spoke about it in the Brighton game, how he whipped a rainbow flick against the Brighton midfield and made a run from midfield to goal. I think he did the same thing here, got the ball in midfield and ran with it towards goal. Didn't end up scoring, but the ricochet or the rebound came to Luis Diaz for the goal. I think even though Arne Slot says he was forced to kind of play around with the tactics, not only because of what the Leverkusen defenders preferred, but also because he didn't have enough forwards available to play his normal kind of style. I think this worked out perfectly because he didn't have Jota, and he also felt that Darwin Núñez wasn't playing that often, and when he started playing, he played him literally for three games in a row, playing the whole 90 minutes. So he wanted to give him a bit of a rest, but what he devised for this game worked out perfectly. Thank you for watching this video. Please smash a like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you on the preview of the Aston Villa game.